This is our subject today. It's my nephew's cool little 86 Toyota 4-wheel drive. We're going to build some tube bumpers and like a rock crawler style bed for it because it has just a little bit of holiness about it, but it's a pretty rad truck. Just fixing some of the stuff so we can make a cool daily driver out of it. Got a little 22R Toyota bulletproof motor. There's our relay that we're going to be putting in it. $30. Can't beat it. See that old high dollar one to the right? Yeah, that's gold. It's Toyota. But this Ford relay works great, and hope y'all enjoy the video. What's up, guys? It's Adrian with AC Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to replace the expensive Toyota 22R relay with a Ford one, and show you how to wire it and everything in this video. So I hope you enjoy. Like, share, subscribe. Here's a few wrenches you may need for this project here. 14 millimeter to actually take the starter off, and you're probably going to need a ratchet and wrench and stuff for to take it off of the bell housing, and 13 millimeter for your wire connectors, and your 3/8 for your little signal wire on your relay. A good practice to get into is always remove your ground wire off your battery anytime you're working on any electrical, or I like to anytime I'm working under a hood of a car, just to be safe. Next is to remove the two 14 millimeter bolts that hold the starter onto the bell housing. Then you have a 13 millimeter that holds on your power source from your battery that goes to the starter. And then you have your starter signal wire, which is just a spade clip that goes on the bottom. You just pinch with your fingers and remove it, then pull the starter out. Alright, now for the fun stuff. We got all the stuff that you need to convert one of these Ford relays into a Toyota relay for about a quarter of the price maybe. Here's one of the first pieces you'll need is about 40 inches or so 6 or 8 gauge wire. That's some old battery wire cable I had laying around. Let's put some ring terminals on. I like to make it a little longer so I can route it neater on the firewall and stuff, so stuff's not as jumbled up. And that one there actually goes from the relay down to your starter, and I mounted this one on the inside of the fender, so it takes a pretty good length of piece to do it. This is the next piece you're going to need, about a 23-24 inch piece of number 12 wire. You put a spade terminal on one end and a ring terminal on the other end, and what this does, this goes from your relay down to your starter signal wire where it comes out of your factory harness. Next piece you're going to need is a 5-inch piece of number 12 wire for your jumper. Just put your ring terminal and spade connector on. This actually goes on your starter to jump across it. Here's just a little diagram actually on the starter. This here's where your main power comes in from your relay, and you're going to take that little short jumper and run over from here to your starter signal wire, and that's where your jumper goes. Here's the box that the relay came in. That's the part number, the SS581. So if you guys want to check it out at your local parts stores. This one was for a 1978 Bronco starter relay. They made them for several years in the Ford vehicles. And here's how you lay it out. And you want to, when you install this, I'll show installing it, but when you put it on, the body of this relay actually grounds to whatever you're doing. So you don't have to run you can run a ground wire, but the body you can actually use for a ground. But the left post comes in from your hot wire coming in from your battery, which would be your regular hot battery wire. And then you jump off it, your long, which would be your 40-inch 8-gauge wire, will run down to your starter. And then the S side, there's a S and I, which is start and ignition. You just use the S side, which is on the left, and that runs down to your signal wire. Okay, now it's time to hook up the 40 inches of the 8-gauge wire that you have. It goes from the relay down to the starter, and also hook up your jumper wire connection. It's a whole lot easier to do it now on the table while you can. Then you can just fish the excess of the wire up through the fender well and hook up to the relay. And it's actually easier to go ahead and put your jumper on first because it's a little easier to maneuver around, because you may have to bend your main power wire around some. And go ahead and plug your jumper in. And now time to add your main power wire, because it'll actually come back at this angle here when it's under the vehicle, so it's just easier to put the smaller one on the bottom. And then use your 13mm wrench and make sure it's good and snug. I reconfigured the wire just a little bit to make it easier and stuff's not in a bind. I don't like to put my wires and stuff in real tight kinks because it could be prone to breaking, but this here seems to work pretty good. I'm getting ready to install the starter and I'll show you how to wire up the relay. Okay, here's your relay. This side here is going to come from the battery, and this side here is going to go out to the starter. Then your S side here is going to go down to your signal wire that you used to have hooked onto your starter. As you can see here, I've already ground away and pre-drilled the holes for this thing to mount, and I just use little self-tapping screws that have the little drill heads on them. But just ensure that you have this ground really clean, because this actually grounds off of this. It don't have an external ground on it. And this is just a little 5/16 socket I use by hand, because you don't want to crank too hard on these because you'll strip it out pretty easily. I like to run them in with a socket and then come back with my 5/16 wrench and tighten them up. Just remember, don't tighten too much because you can strip these out, but if you do, just pull your inner fender well out, then you'll just have to run a nut and a bolt in here. Just a little extra work, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, now just this is just your regular old factory positive lead here. Just take it. What I like to do is route it around under some of this stuff because it's pretty long, but I just don't feel like cutting it just in case we want to do anything different later on. But you can route it around under here, and it comes down like this, and it goes on the post closest to the battery if you mounted it like I did. Flat washer, and make sure you put your lock washer. You don't want these things coming off. Then I'll come back later with some tie wraps and tighten everything up nicely. Take your 13mm wrench. Make sure you hold on this and try not to torque down, because you can break stuff pretty easily because this stuff's pretty thin. Okay, good and snug. Now for the wire that we attached to our starter. Alright, there's the starter we installed, and you can see right there the one with the, let me see if I can reach down and grab it. This is your starter signal wire. The one that this used to plug into your starter. Well, now it don't. It plugs into the little number 12 wire that we have. It runs up to the relay. So you don't plug this back to the starter. That's what your jumper was for. So this here is your wire right here that goes down. It hooks under. You can't see it because all that's on the underside. That's why I said you probably need to hook it up on the table. It's a lot easier. Then you bring it up here and I'll show it, hook it into the relay. Alright, what I'm going to do now, this is the wire. I can get it in focus here. This is the wire coming from the starter that we put on at the table. I'm going to route it all, try as neat as I can to route it around a lot of this stuff, because I like a little extra length so we can put it where we need and it looks a whole lot better. Okay, it just comes up to this side of the relay. Let me zoom in so y'all can see it. Comes to that side. I like to put a flat washer, a lock washer, and then on it. Then take your 13mm and tighten it up. Remember, hold down when you start really getting tight. Now this is your old relay. Alright guys, we're about done. This is the starter signal wire that runs down to the one that had the yellow tape that I showed you earlier. So we'll hook it to the side, the pole that has S on it on the relay. Try to run this stuff underneath so it don't get tangled up. It just looks a lot better. This is your S side. This is the battery side. This is starter side, and this is your S. Just put your ring terminal, a good lock washer. Now I'll get my hands out of the way in a minute so you guys can see. Then grab your 3/8 wrench. Get good snug. Alright guys, here I'm going to show you, well, right there's the starter. Now this is the starter trigger wire that comes off the main harness. Keep this in focus. Then basically this here is your wire that come off the S side of the relay. You just slide that spade into there and you're done here. Now just slide this spade into that little clip that used to, now this is the wire here that used to plug into the starter. Now it don't. This wire now runs up to the relay on the S side. And this should have you guys starting if you have that trouble with the relay. And it's a quick, easy fix, I think, for hardly no money. Alright guys, well that's about it. Got the battery cables tightened down real well. Here's a good view of the relay next to the old one. Tried to tighten up a lot of these wires best can. I'm gonna clip those ends off the zip ties. Haven't done that yet, but we'll give her a fire up and see how she does. Alright guys, let's see if it'll crank up now. Well, that's what I wanted to hear, so I guess it worked.